and with the access to stakeholders that the ministry is providing us with its own power and strength, we are able to be much bigger and better. And the third thing that we will be generating today is better ideas about policy supports for building clusters and associations, business management associations of small enterprises together. So for these three objectives, FMC, with the support of the ministry, has put together this program for the benefit of certainly all those who've come here, and thank you very much for being here, as well as for the many others who will be connecting with us online later in the day, as well as from what we produce here and report from here, influencing the minds of others who could help to strengthen small enterprises by strengthening associations and business management organizations of the small enterprises themselves. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being amongst the leaders of supporting this cause, which cause will help us to, I believe, address the big problem that our country is facing of growing more enterprises as well as more jobs and secure employment for people in enterprises. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Encouraging as always. I will now request Dr. Rene Van Berkel, UNIDO representative, to share his knowledge and experience with us.
Thank you very much. I would like to especially acknowledge Priya Srivastava, Additional Development Commissioner for MSMEs, and of course Sri Arun Maira, Chairman of the Foundation of MSME Clusters, Tamal and other friends of the FMC, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates. It's of course my pleasure to contribute to this inauguration of today's cluster conclave and then leading up in the evening to the 5th awards for responsible Indian business membership organizations, or these cluster associations that Arun was talking about. I speak on behalf of UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. For those who are less familiar, UNIDO is the specialized organization in the UN system that supports developing country member states in industrial development for poverty eradication, globalization of trade, and environmental sustainability. Through policy dialogue, promotion of good practices, and training and technical assistance, UNIDO aims to grow in particularly small and medium-sized enterprises in the manufacturing and related sectors. Historically, manufacturing MSMEs have been large job creators in economies at all stages of development. It's not different in India than it is in the Netherlands, where I come from. Even though labor intensity is on decline across all sectors, still today SMEs remain key to socio-economic development agenda globally. In India, the segment of MSME contributes about 8% of GDP, 33% of exports through over 60 million enterprises, which employ something in the range of 110 plus million people. The numbers are distorted by the micro enterprises, as the median number of employees reportedly hovers just below 2. That means that on average, an MSME creates 1 job for the owner and at maximum 2 employees. So we see that indeed number-wise the MSME sector is dominated by the micro or tiny segment, and that operates in what one might say almost subsistence mode. So are they ready for market, or are they there to employ themselves? A situation that's comparable to, I think, agriculture and trade sectors. But further development of the MSME sector, and then I come to the policy agenda that Mr. Arun was referring to, will require some stratification of the, and then development of customized strategies for growth to connect tiny to micro, micro to small, small to medium, and then ultimately also medium to grow to larger types of enterprises. As you know, we are part of, UNIDO is part of the UN system, and we support developing countries, our member states, in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, which are universally applicable and ambitious goals that collectively constitute the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. UNIDO, of course, is linked most prominently to SDG 9, which covers industry, infrastructure, and innovation. There are 17 SDGs. Number 9 is exactly in the middle, so that positions the centrality of industry. This though is intrinsically linked to all other SDGs. I've gone on record to say that the SDGs, we can think of it as a dice with 17 sides. As soon as we start to move on one side, we move with the other ones. For today's meeting, we are particularly then focused on SDG 8, on economic growth and decent work, SDG 10 on reducing inequalities, SDG 17 on partnerships and institutional building, capacity building and investment. UNIDO spearheads then an industrial transformation to inclusive and sustainable industrialization that is aimed at advancing economic competitiveness, sharing prosperity, and ensuring environmental sustainability. These are big words, but more simply, we could say that we aim for factories that are fit for the future, but that we basically needed yesterday. So that the challenges are not used, they are continuing from the past in terms of being able to stand on their own legs in terms of economic competitiveness, being able to sell a product in the market, meeting environmental standards, and also providing decent work. The good news is that this can unlock real-time benefits to business, economy, and society at large. In the economic domain, practicing productivity, applying lean manufacturing methods, and upgrading to appropriate technology and products are key. UNIDO is working in diverse manufacturing sectors, including pulp and paper, tanning, leather products, cement, automotive components, and bicycle components. Just to give you one example, with the Automotive Components Manufacturing Association, ACMA, we supported over the past 4 years 150 components manufacturers, which achieved combined annual savings of 17 crore rupees, which averaged about $18,000 for each enterprise. Just last week, we launched the successor initiative to scale up and expand this initiative under the umbrella of PRIDE, professionalism, responsibility, and innovation driving excellence. Specifically in the environmental domain, first priority is to use all natural resources, energy as well as water and materials productively so that nothing goes to waste, and ensure that we use renewables to the extent feasible. UNIDO and its partners are currently supporting 22 industrial clusters on energy efficiency. Some of the results will be shared in the session later on. We also work on the renewable energy applications in manufacturing, particularly related to heat applications, so not the electricity, but what do we need in terms of process heat. And one of the example projects is on using solar heating for industrial use, where we produce hot water for textiles, for leather, for pharma, drying of products through either conventional solar thermal or concentrated solar thermal dishes. We stand ready to support interested MSMEs who want to try these technologies and make them to work for their bottom line. In the domain of social responsibility, manufacturing units can create shared prosperity by including in particular women in the workforces and making value chains work for minority and disadvantaged groups. Internationally, UNIDO has achieved encouraging results with inclusive cluster and value chain development in handicrafts, agri-food, and tourism sectors, and we've already sourced some of the products for the bamboo and related sectors that we would be happy to contribute. Just last month, UNIDO released an update of its cluster development methodology, which is aimed at specifically creating opportunities for women. I have already mentioned a few times clusters, and clusters indeed are the distinguishing feature of the Indian MSME landscape. And here I would like to give credit to my predecessors in UNIDO, who've played a leading role in operationalizing clusters for development in India, and indeed also the foundation for MSME clusters as a main agent for continuing this cluster development drive till date. The cluster concept was initially based on the idea of bringing together tiny and micro producers within a community of close geographic proximity to collectively specialize in one product or service, improve their designs, quality and productivity, and break into value chains and global markets. And some also refer then to this approach as a one village, one product approach or OVOP model, which is very prominent in Japan, Thailand, and other places. UNIDO has led the way in proposing and applying an integrated cluster development approach based on 6 common sense consecutive steps. First, identify a cluster. What product or service is unique and can be focused upon based on the locally available natural resources, biological resources, culture, habits, and traditions. And secondly, to create a cluster development agent, which could be a cluster association or business membership organization, to basically, in a transparent and accountable manner, to drive then the cluster development. Thirdly comes then a diagnostic of the cluster, basically a SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunity, threats analysis on what could be done with the cluster to break into markets and what is needed. Fourthly is then the formulation of a vision, an action plan, so an aspirational vision that can unite the different stakeholders and drive then the cluster development. Fifth is then the implementation of the action plan, creating the necessary human, institutional, and technical resources and infrastructure for cluster going to market. Sixthly is then monitoring and evaluation, collecting data to evaluate progress, do mid-course correction, and ultimately learn from experience and knowledge sharing. As MSMEs start to flourish over time, the cluster concept has really diversified, and right now I think it's fair to say that we are at the stage that clusters mean different things to different people. We observe clusters that have also evolved around common facility centers or common engineering facility centers. Basically, these are technical and engineering resource centers that provide technical support services to SME manufacturers on issues like product design, prototyping, testing, and tool fabrication, etc. The beneficiaries of a common facility center would still be in the main from one sector, like pumps or foundries or other sectors, yet are no longer connected to a common product or service. Cluster term is also used as a shorthand for just a geographic concentration of similar enterprises. These might have come together more organically and partially unorganized around the shared resources, such as a common raw material, a skill, or a market. This would be there like that, right?